What's up, everybody? It's the Red Baron 59, and today I want to make a response video to Mr. Isaac Butterfield. It's not really like what I want to do with my channel. This isn't going to be a regular thing. I just want to talk about a couple of things. I will have a follow-up video to elaborate on some of the information I have in here and some of my opinions and personal experiences that led me down this path. So I recently went vegan, and I have, you know, it's been a long time coming for me. I actually grew up vegan. Those of you that don't know, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and you know, surprisingly enough, I never knew, but actually, like one of the cornerstones of research on veganism and its effects on health is the Seventh-day Adventist community in California. There is a small community of Seventh-day Adventist individuals here in Louisville, where I'm from. You know, and I grew up within that church. You know, as a child, I was vegan until about 7. Didn't really know that that was the thing I was doing. At least, I didn't understand the implications of my diet because I really didn't know what other people ate. So it was just the way we ate. You know, I mean, we had vegan hot dogs and stuff like that at potluck. You know, vegan mac and cheese, and I never really understood that other people didn't eat that way. So, you know, I mean, it was completely normal to me, and I didn't ever really eat McDonald's for the first time until I was like 7 years old. Never had any like fast food like that, and you know, slowly over time, I think my diet got worse, and as a result of that, my health got worse. You know, I started having a lot of issues with IBS, stomach pains. You know, I eventually had to get my appendix taken out. There's some research to suggest that that can be caused by, you know, just toxic environments in your body. I would say that was probably true in my case. And could I have avoided having my appendix taken out by being vegan my entire life? Probably. I would imagine there's a good chance I may never have even had to go down that path. But, you know, I mean, working as a chef, I was eating a lot of meat every day. I was eating a lot of cheese every day, and I was getting steadily heavier. I mean, I worked with a lot of obese and overweight people, you know, and here's the thing: in the United States and in Australia, where Mr. Butterfield lives, mind you as well, obesity and being overweight is so normalized today that like people make jokes about vegans looking malnourished, underfed, etc. When the reality is we are just fat as hell, and we are all dying and we are all sick. Not all of us, but a lot of us are. And I just want to go over a couple of things. So one of the points that he makes is that meat in moderation is okay. Nobody moderates anything. I can tell you from every day when I'm in the grocery store, man, people look at you like a fucking alien when you're stocking your cart with groceries, grains, legumes, potatoes, nuts, you know, pestos, and you're not buying Twixes, and you're not buying this shit and that shit. I don't have ice cream all in my cart, you know. And here's the thing: I do moderately eat some sweets, but so rarely now, because it's bad for you, man. And when you learn about things like candida overgrowth, which is caused by eating tons of sugar, and how its negative impacts and how it affects like 60 to 70% of people living in the United States eating a standard American diet, which would be found really in most countries now. It's not just the standard American diet; it's really the standard westernized diet. Lots of cheese, lots of eggs, lots of beef, lots of chicken, lots of fish, all of which are full of toxins, poisons, hormones, and are just killing you, man. They're fucking killing you. You know, and here's the thing. I like sandwich meat. I'll admit that. And here's the reason why. A lot of people think that meat tastes good. Meat doesn't taste good. And I can tell you firsthand, being a chef, you know, you're sitting there and you're seasoning all of it, and it's important that you come up with rubs, things like that. You know, you gotta salt things heavily, and the reason why is we have no protein receptors on our tongue. And you can compare this to like your cat. You know how your cat's got a rough tongue, or your dog's got a rough tongue? Why do you think that is? Because those are the protein receptors on our tongue. We don't have any. We have salt, sugar, you know, we can pick up sour flavors and stuff like that. And why would we have taste receptors like that? Because we are herbivorous animals. This comes down to the fact that we sweat, while carnivores don't. They perspire through their mouth. You know, this also comes down to the fact that we have long intestinal lengths to body lengths, 12-to-1 versus the typical 3-to-1 found in true omnivores and carnivores. And the reason being that meat will rot in your stomach if it sits in there too long. And one of the ways we get around that is by cooking it. You know, obviously, like raw meat or rare meat, like a lot of people eat when you eat high quality steaks or whatever, high quality, that you're gonna have that same problem, man. That shit's gonna eventually just sit in your stomach and rot, and you know, you're gonna suffer health consequences, and it's not gonna happen overnight. You know, this isn't the same thing as like if you just picked up a heroin habit, how your life would just fall apart immediately. It's gonna take time. You know, but I've seen things about how atherosclerosis starts to show up in children by the age of 10. And I mean, I'm talking like at this point in my life, before I quit, I was having, you know, constant stomach pains. I was feeling fatigued. You know, I always was spitting up phlegm in the wintertime, which comes from eating a lot of meat, man. It irritates your body, and your body starts, you know, doing things like releasing mucus, pulling calcium from its bones to deal with how it's heavily acidic. You know, it changes your blood makeup. It does a lot of really bad things to you, and the list just goes on and on. You know, heme iron is bad for you. We have tons of research about its cancer rates. But let's just go into a couple of more serious points, more concentrated points about a few things. But let's just talk about obesity rates, right? So in Australia, Australians now, you have in a study in 2015 found that obesity rates tend to affect Australian men between over the age of 75 really negatively in terms of their life expectancy, and 60 to 74 in terms of life expectancy. But alright, so Australia, you have 1 in 4 children are overweight, 2 in 3 adults are overweight. This is one of the claims. And then you get into a 2005 study by the Australian Bureau of Statistics that compared a 2004 to 5 study with those conducting in the preceding 15 years. You had in 1989 to 1990, 4.6 million people were obese or overweight. This jumps by 1 million, give or take, to 5.4 million in 1995, just 5 years later. And then you have 6.6 million in 2001 and 7.4 million in 2004 to 2005. This is, give or take, you know, a pretty significant increases in weight. And then in 2007, you find that 67.4% of Australian adults are overweight. This is from the World Health Organization, ranking at the 21st in the world and 3rd out of major countries in the English-speaking world, behind the United States ranked 9th and New Zealand ranked 17th. A 2005 WHO study found that just over 20% of Australian adults are obese. So this is pretty close to the United States at this point. You know, and this being a country that prides itself on its beauty standards and health standards, as they live, a lot of people in Australia by the beach, by the coast, you know, they have great environments to live in, lots of sun. You know, you would think they'd be really broadly healthy and all put together. Now, you know, let's compare this though with let's see, let's take a look at, you know, the United States is basically at this point sitting at around the same level. I think we have around the same weights of being just overweight, give or take 70% of adults. But you have more obese people in the United States. And I can tell you from first-hand experience, dude, when you're in the grocery store, I mean, it's unreal, the stuff that people put in their carts. I've never eaten this way to begin with, but I'm talking like, you know, yesterday I went up to pick up some things, and I mean, people look at you like you're crazy. When you're buying legumes, potatoes, things like that, they're like, what does he do? Does he cook all the time? No, it doesn't take you that long. But what they're getting in their carts, man, is like Twix, you know, packages. Not just a single Twix bar, packages. You know, I'm talking like people that buy not just one Coke, cases and cases of Coke. Like 6, you know, 7, 12 packs, 2 liters. I mean, and it's just like, and I'm like, how do you live on this? I mean, people that just like pizzas, frozen dinners, and this is the shit that they're just subsisting on, you know, and everything they eat is full of sugar, full of fat, you know, like Frosted Flakes, Tostino's pizza rolls. I mean, and this starts to affect your mind, which is one thing that I started noticing. I felt dumber. You know, like my brain just wasn't working as quickly as it did before. And this comes from fatty clots in your arteries and capillaries. This starts to, even as time goes along, cause atrophy in the brain. They're starting to find and suggest that that's actually really the real causal link in Alzheimer's. That it's not actually, you know, caused by heavy metals or anything, but rather blood clotting that's causing the brain to atrophy, and that it's actually a circulatory disease, just like, you know, heart disease is, just like, you know, emphysema is. You know, it's a circulatory issue. And so, like, all right, so in regards to what Harvard has to say about this and the WHO came out, give or take, about a month ago and said that red meat was a class 2 carcinogen and processed red meat was a class 1 carcinogen, putting it up there with cigarettes, plutonium, and just like a host of really shitty things. Now, not saying that it's as bad as plutonium, not saying it's as bad as cigarettes, but it is a carcinogen that is as active in the body and contributing to cancer and things like that as those. Now, just going into what Harvard has to say about the link of red meat and how bad it is for you. So they did a study over 22 years which documented the 37,698 men, 83,644 women, and then they started them with people that were free from cardiovascular disease and cancer at baseline. Their diets were assessed every 4 years to figure out, essentially what they were continually eating at the time, any shifts that they might have made. And then they found by the end of it that 23,926 people had died in total, of which 5,910 people had died from cardiovascular disease, which would have been like heart attack, stroke, stuff like that. And then you have 9,464 people who have died from cancer. And what they found is regular consumption of red meat, particularly processed red meat, was associated with an increased risk of mortality. One daily serving of unprocessed red meat, about the size of a deck of cards. That's moderation. That's moderation. Was associated with a 13% increased risk of mortality. And how many people are eating a 3-ounce portion of steak? Really? Let's be honest about this, Isaac. And let's be honest about this, other people. That nobody, if they're eating it, they're eating an 8-ounce one. They're eating a 12-ounce, and they're probably eating it 2 to 3 times a day because they're having steak at dinner, they're having a turkey sandwich at breakfast, and eggs in the at lunch. They're having eggs and yogurt in the morning. How many vegetables and fruits are they even eating at that rate? And then, so when you have a processed serving, hot dogs or slices of bacon was associated with a 20% increased rate of risk. And they also go on to state that saturated fat was only even a marginal piece of the picture. That you're talking about biotoxins that are found in these things, which you have to keep in mind the law of bioaccumulation. Fish is not good for you. People tout this idea that there's healthy fish, wild-caught fish. It ain't good for you either. Where do you think all that oil is going when you hear about these oil spills? Where do you think the toxins, the heavy metals, and all that shit ends up? It ends up in the things that the fish eat, which include other fish, which include kelp, coral, includes all these other items that they might have found in their environment. And what do you think happens as they eat these things? They accumulate more of these heavy metals, mercury, etc., more of these toxins from the oil, and that shit goes to your children and it goes to you. And it contributes to the degradation of your mental health and your physical well-being. I'll have some more on this tomorrow. I hope to see you guys next time. But just keep some of these things in mind. Read some of these articles. Keep an open mind, guys. Look to talk to you.